Hello, I'm Professor John Benjamin at West Virginia Wesleyan College, and this is Motion Graphics. And today we'll be doing rotoscoping. So we'll start with a new composition, and I think we'll do the traditional 1920 by 1080. And I have a couple of files that I've provided for you in Canvas that you can bring into your project panel. All right, we're going to start off with this photo. All right, now if I zoom out, you can see that it's a little larger than, I think it's about 2K. So I'm going to right click, transform, and fit to comma. Okay, and so what we want to do is, we don't have a green screen here. We probably could color key this, to be quite honest, but I'm going to show you rotoscoping anyhow. So what we're going to do though is we want to cut this cat out, and we're going to try to do two things. And so we can put a text behind the cat, and then we're going to put some stars behind the cat. So if we're going to put text behind the cat, we'll have to go ahead and duplicate that layer. So I'm just going to say Control D or Command D, and then we're going to turn off that layer and lock it and forget about it for now. We want one free layer down here. All right, and then we're going to go ahead and rotoscope out the background. So to do that, we go to our Rotor Brush, which is right up here. And then to get started, we're going to double click, and we're going to mask out the cats on a different layer, and then it'll apply to the composition. So here's our Rotor Brush, and how it works is much like the magic wand or the selection tool in Photoshop. And you're just going to go ahead and select out some of the areas. So there, this time I did it all in one shot. That was really good. But if you need to fine tune, you hit the Alt key and it turns it from a green plus to a red minus. And that way you can erase any areas that you need to fix. So that we didn't need to fix that. But I can go ahead and put that back in with and then I want to see one over there, and I can go ahead and hit the negative, hit the Alt key or the Option key on a Mac, and I can erase that a little bit there. All right, and there is our cat rotoscope. Now it's giving me a little warning here. It says the composition must match the frame rate. So this particular film, I didn't check, but it has 25 frames per second. So we need to change our comp settings to also be 25. Now most things are kept at 29.97. But in order to do that, we need to match the frame rate. We can change it later, back to 29.97. Okay, so the next thing we want to do is, I don't think we want to do this rotoscope this whole footage. The cat moves around quite a lot, and that'll take quite a lot of time to create that rotor brushing. So let's just do our usual 2 seconds. We'll move our CTI up to 2 seconds, and go ahead and hit Alt, bracket. And then what you can see happening over here is in the green area is the cache. And there's a little blue line and a little gray line here. You want to go ahead and drag that all the way up to 2 seconds, and so that After Effects knows you're trying to cache this whole area. All right, so if we scrub that, we can see that the Rotor Brush is really adhering to the cat very nicely throughout. But we can take a look in different ways just to see how the mask is working. One way here is we can go ahead and look at the mask itself. And that is looking pretty good. But if it looks a little too jagged, you can go ahead and increase the feather. And that'll soften it. And you can decrease the chatter a little bit, reduce the chatter, and that looks even better. Now the more you go back and do and alter these things though, you can shift the edge. If it's coming out a little bit, like we see a little bit of yellow there, we can move the edge inside and see a little bit less of that. Or we can push the edge out. Every time you make these adjustments, it's going to have to cache again. Okay, so I'm going to go back to the line. And then let's take a look and see how we've done. Let's see this in action. So we're going to move from this tab back to our Comp 1 tab with the cat there. And you can see that it's all masked out. That's the white area. So now if I turn on the area behind it, which was the background of the cat, I can play those through. And so with having the cat duplicated, the first one is rotoscoped and then the background is not. Then we can do something along these lines, like put some text in the background behind the cat. You just move it between those two video layers. And then we can play that through once it caches. And we'll see the cat move, and it's... Now, other things that we can do, if we want to turn that off, is we can go back to our project panel and take our stars image here and put that just below the cat video here. And let's go ahead and scale those down a bit. That's a little better. Okay, so now we can have a laser cat. And that's rotoscoping. And the one thing you can do too, as we didn't really need to do so much with this cat, and it's cashing out again, but yeah, there he's moving. If there are any parts that, as the cat moves and changes, that you need to correct them, you can just double click and come back to this tab and look for any of those areas where they need to be corrected, and then just bring out your Rotor Brush again and add where it needs to be added and subtract where it needs to be subtracted. And you can do that frame by frame and keep readjusting the Rotor Brush throughout the entire motion of the cat. And one little fun thing I think I'd add here, and I added this link if you want to install this plugin. But if you go to Effects and Preset, now you can do this with a regular stroke, but it doesn't look nearly as good. And so I would really recommend, if you want to have any kind of lasers, to get the Saber plugin. And it's free, and I provide you the link to do so. So if I come to my effects here, I type in Saber, there it is. And next I'm going to create a solid layer. Alright, and then I'm just going to drag this Saber down onto that layer. And there it is. And then in the render settings, I'm going to go ahead and change this to transparent. And then there I have my Saber. Now I can move it to this eye here. And I can duplicate it. I'm going to move that one over here. And you want to go ahead and you want to have a little bit of perspective, if you will. And we can animate that by going here and offset, and we're going to set another keyframe. All right, and there we have, we want those to flip. Alright, so we have those coming out of the eye like that, and we can copy those, and come down here, paste those, lasers coming out of the cat's eyes, and then we can choose to keyframe the start offset. And that lasers can sort of end, if you will. Start offset. Right, now we have our cat shooting lasers. And now if the cat moves and they don't quite line up, so like right here, and we can just simply animate the position. There we go. And then the lasers follow the cat's eye movement. There, pretty good rotoscoping there with Laser Cat. All right, so that's your basic rotor brush and rotoscoping. There's other things you can do, like create a silhouette. So I showed you type behind the cat and an image behind the cat. Let's just do one more thing, which is the silhouette that you could do, which is pretty commonly used. You may have remembered it from some of the old iTunes commercials. So what I'm going to do here is we're going to turn off that layer. Let's go ahead and actually just remove these. There the laser too. And the background cat. So we're just left with our cat here. And so I'm going to go ahead and make a background layer, which is just a solid color. And so let's choose something fun, like yellow. And I'm just going to put that behind the cat. And then now we're going to change the cat to just be a solid color. And a couple of things that we're going to do. We're going to first change the levels. So in my effects here, I'm going to look at the levels and just drag those down onto the cat layer. And then up here, I'm going to change the input white so that the cat turns totally black. So I really want to go anything below -7 here. So we've got a black cat. And now I want to add color to that. So to do that, I'm going to go to the effects and type in tint. And then I'm going to go ahead and add a tint to here. And since I turned the cat black, I'm going to map a color to black. And let's make the cat a nice burgundy, like so. And there you go. And then we've turned the rotoscope into just a pure silhouette. All right, so we've got a nice silhouette there. And you can still go back and adjust the feathering and all those other treatments. So once you get your silhouette, you might find that it's a little too jaggedy around the edge, so you can go ahead back into your controls and fix that. And that's just opening back up your Rotor Brush and changing things like the feather. But remember, every time you make those changes, you'll have to wait for it to cache again because it has to re-render those frames. Okay, so we've got Rotor Brush putting text and objects behind something, putting photos behind something, and then creating silhouettes. So now, if this works pretty well, if there's enough contrast so that the Rotor Brush can recognize the different pixel contrasts and map those on each frame. But if it gets a little harder than that, then we've got to use what the professionals use, and that's called Mocha Ae. So let's do that. So first you try Rotor Brush, and if that works out for you, then that saves you a lot of time. But in certain cases, you can't ask the filmmakers to go back and reshoot the footage and get less contrast. You just work with the footage that you have. So let's make a new comp. And I've got a second cat here. Let's drag that cat onto the frame here. All right, and we're going to do the same thing. In this case, we're not going to blow the cat up, but rather I'm going to change the composition settings to fit the cat. This cat is 720, so I'm going to go ahead and change my comp settings to 720. There we go. And then I'll actually make sure that it fits. There, perfect. Okay, so now with this cat, there are some contrast areas and things that might be a little more challenging. Rotor Brush would probably work okay on this cat, but we're going to go ahead and use Mocha Ae. So we're going to go to Effects and Boris FX Mocha and select Mocha Ae. Over here, now in our effects, is the Mocha Ae, and we're going to go ahead and just click on the little icon here to launch it. This is a third-party program that has been integrated with After Effects. I think it came in 2019. It's been working with After Effects as a separate plugin for about a decade, but now they're actually integrated, which is great. All right, and so how Mocha Ae works is much like any kind of mask in After Effects, but it's just a lot more powerful. And so professionals can really get really detailed. Now it can be very tedious, as you'll see here in a moment. So you want to go ahead and hit the pen tool here, and then just start drawing around the edge by clicking points of your cat. You don't have to click drag like you would maybe in Illustrator. You're just clicking, and we're going to soften those edges. Now, one of the recommendations they do make for Mocha Ae, if there are different parts of, let's say, a human or an animal that move differently, or even an insect, anything that has separate pieces that move, you want to create a separate mask for each of those pieces. So I'm going to actually create one that's for the cat's body here. I don't think I should mention this before too, you want to analyze your footage ahead of time. And you can make a lot of decisions about what your needs are based on doing a good analysis of the footage. And I have already looked at this footage. I know the cat doesn't move his arm, so I'm going to treat the whole body and the arm as just one appendage. And once you're done, you just right-click on that last point, and there's your mask. So I'm going to go ahead now and create a mask for each of the ears. The ears work independently, so they each pivot on their own. So I'm going to go ahead and give each ear its own mask. Right-click to finish. All right, and then just last for the head. Great. Now, of course, you can see already that these need touching up. So let's go do a little bit of touching up. And we're going to move these anchor points out a little bit. And how the blue handlebars work here in Mocha Ae is they create the curve. So you push them in to curve them. And then you have a more softer organic curve. And then you can push that out. And you can feather these as you need to. If you were to pre-plan this, anything that is furry, if you can get the footage with a green screen, that's good. Because color keying does work better than masks do for fur and fuzzy things. Hair, on people's heads. But this will work also. So we can feather. Alright, so we're going to soften those up by pushing most of those in. Okay, great. I think that's a fairly decent, well, this is a little out of whack here. Let's move that in there, soften that up a little. Alright, that's a pretty good mask. We have all the independent components of the cat. So now we're ready to go ahead and have this track. So now that, just like we've done before in tracking exercises, we're going to track forward. So I'm just going to hit the track forward button. And I'm going to be ready with the stop button, because as soon as the cat moves and the mask is starting to slip, like right here, I'm going to hit stop. And so the cat moved down. And so now I'm going to have to move the mask up a little bit with the cat. Now I can track backwards too to see where that started. And Mocha Ae does a really pretty good job of locating it, but if there isn't a lot of contrast, then it can be problematic. So you have to stop and make adjustments. Okay, and there's a little bit of a drift right there again. This time I'm not going to move the whole mask, just a few of these anchor points, like so. And we'll track forward again. Alright, we're already getting some drift as the cat moves its head back. That seems, ear needs to come back. Okay, we'll track forward some more. A little more drift. And this is just an illustration. At this stage, I'm not going for perfection. I'm just giving you an idea of how it works. But if it was for a full feature film, you would really get down to the minutiae of the pixels. And it would become very tedious, but the end result is very good. So, it's worth the effort. All right, more drift over here. I'm going to make some more adjustments. All right, and we don't have to do the whole footage. We just have to do a few things so you get the idea. And then, but let's say we were ready. Let's say our mask is completed and we're pleased with it. Then you simply file and save project, like so. And then you just close it out. And then it's brought back into After Effects. So here, we'll come in here. Here's our mat. And here's our tracking data. And so we're going to go ahead and then create an AE mask. So based on that data that we maneuvered, they're going to go ahead and bring that over. And so there's our mask. And we can play it through. And again, it's pretty imperfect. Like, we need to go back and fix it, but we can. We can just simply click on the Mocha icon and go back and fix those details. But essentially, the idea is there, and we can go ahead now and put on a background if we're ready. So we can go back to our project panel, and we have another laser cat. That again isn't perfect, but it's pretty good. All right, so that is rotor brushing. Remember, we've got the rotor brush tool, and then for more complicated, higher-end professional work, we go and use the Mocha Ae plugin. So for this, I would like both cats, and let's go ahead and create a main comp. And then just go ahead and bring comp 1 onto here, and then comp 2. Great, and that's all you need to export. Just the first movie and the second movie all in one 4-second clip. Great, well good luck. Thank you.